Welcome back, Ascenders, to the Ascended Thoughts Podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Crane. So I was having a conversation with one of my really good friends, and who is also very spiritually inclined, very woo-woo, part of the soul tribe. And we were talking about just this influx of Karen personalities that we're starting to see, just people that just seem kind of overly outrageous and hostile and aggressive and provocative. And in that conversation, I started to realize that Karen, right, this pop culture term that we use to essentially call someone exhibiting a certain type of behavior, has actually, or is actually, a new archetype that has been created, right? Or maybe it's an old archetype that has just kind of resurged and rebranded itself. And they had asked me, my friend, they had said, why is everyone going crazy? Like, the world seems to be in such a state of peril. Wouldn't it be obvious that everybody that's in the world should do something to change it? Should do something to contribute to the greater good, to contribute to the collective, to serve, because everyone, it feels like, is experiencing suffering of some kind. If it's not monetary suffering that they're going through, it's physical suffering. If it's not physical suffering, it's emotional. If it's not emotional, it's mental. If it's not mental, it's spiritual. And then I thought to myself, I said, you know what? No, actually. That is not the purpose of what we're actually experiencing here. Not everybody is supposed to ascend. Not everybody is supposed to ascend in this lifetime, because not everyone's chose to do so when they were filling out their soul contract, so to speak. But not only that, we don't need the entire global population to ascend in order for the planet itself to ascend. And then I realized, I was like, it's not these people's sole purpose. The people that we think are the Karens, the antagonists, that is their job. Their job is to be the Karen. Their job is to be the antagonist. Their job is to provoke you. Because if they don't provoke you, if they don't provoke the ones that were meant to ascend in this lifetime, then how will you wake up? See, we look at people in this lifetime and we assume that their soul may be underdeveloped. That's not necessarily always the case. When we decide to incarnate, we decide to take on very specific roles in that particular lifetime to help us fulfill certain things, complete certain karmic cycles, to contribute to the collective soul group. And so we all take on roles, a purpose, and we all have our own agenda. But before we come down, we compare our agenda with other souls, and we figure out how we're going to work together, so to speak, when we get down here, when we end up in the matrix, so to speak. And if your soul wants to progress, wants to ascend in a certain way, your soul needs to be provoked in order to do so. And so what I realized was that what we are experiencing, what we're dealing with, is actually agents of the matrix. You know, the 3D world is something that I very fondly call the matrix. It is a simulation, so to speak. It is programming, and everything that we see here is a result of the program. If you are someone that loves TV, what do we call TV? We call TV programming. It's TV programming. It is a program. It is a program inside of this matrix. It is a part of the game in this matrix. And the matrix has multiple different games, multiple different programs, multiple different levels. And when you complete a level and you ascend to a new level, you have effectively ascended. And when you decide to stop playing that game, then you have effectively made the decision to take a step back from the matrix and simply observe it. It's like watching two people play a game of chess, right? You're not playing the game yourself. However, by observing two other people play the game, you have the ability to still see steps, to still see moves, to still see moves and potential moves that somebody may make on that chessboard. The matrix is the same. When you get to a place where you have an awareness that the matrix exists, you are now and you now have the ability to then make the decision to take a step back out of the matrix to become an observer of the matrix. And when you take a step back and become an impartial observer, you then have the ability to see the moves that are being made. You will no longer feel shocked by everything that you see in the news, shocked by other people's behavior, because you would have already seen it, because you would have observed it from a bird's eye view, because you were looking at it outside of the matrix. Instead of being a part of the hologram, instead of being a part of the programming, you are now observing the program. And the funny thing that happens when you observe the program is then you now have the power to manipulate the program, to create new programs, to throw a wrench in a program, to throw a virus in a program, to stop a whole program. You actually have the ability to do whatever you want to do with it once you allow yourself to have an awareness of it from the outsider's view or outside of the matrix. But how are you going to get there without realizing that something inside of the matrix is awry? If you didn't have situations and people in life that provoked you hard enough, there is no reason for you to have the need to wake up and become aware. You would simply live inside the program. You would you would live out your life, hopefully fulfill your soul contract. You would pass in this lifetime and then go back to source, right? But that's not the purpose. You, ascenders, are supposed to see the matrix. If you didn't, you wouldn't have ended up listening to this podcast. There's a part of you that already resonates with that idea anyway. And these people that you're coming across, because I have a very strong feeling that there are a number of you that feel that you're experiencing people provoke you more and more and more and more again. And I almost feel like a number of you feel like, why is everyone all of a sudden bothering me? Why do I feel like I'm constantly being attacked, or I'm constantly being backed into a corner, or everyone's constantly bothering me, or no one understands me? You're being provoked, and you're being provoked because that's how you wake up. You wake up by someone saying, hey, there's something wrong here, wake up. And so my belief now is what you're experiencing when you're dealing with those Karens out in the street is not necessarily that you're dealing with someone that is sleep in the traditional sense of the word. You're dealing with an agent of the matrix. That person works for the matrix. It is that person's responsibility to make sure the matrix stays intact, to make sure there are no viruses. It's virus protection software is what you're dealing with. You're dealing with an agent of the matrix whose job is to be virus protection software. And when the agent of the matrix comes across someone like you, who according to the matrix is the virus because you do not operate well under existing programming, right? You are someone that will inherently disrupt the program and disrupt other members of the program, because by being around them, other members, you actually have the potential to trigger their awakening. And what that means is that inside of the program, you are now a problem, and something inside the program feels like it has to take you out. And then you start dealing with and being confronted by agents of the matrix. Agents of the matrix can be your friends, it can be your family, it can be colleagues, your boss, it could be some random woman that you ran into in a grocery store. But nonetheless, that is the agent of the matrix. Their job is twofold: to protect the program in the matrix, but also to provoke you. Because at the end of the day, right, it's all of our soul's purpose at the end of the day to ascend. And maybe their job is to help provoke you so you can get there faster. And the more you resist, or the stronger they sense your spirit is in terms of not buying the propaganda that exists inside the matrix, the more they will provoke you, because you pose a greater threat to the existing program of the matrix. And you see this everywhere. When you look at your movers and shakers, when you look at people who are doing really good things. You're humanitarians that are going out saving the world. You're philanthropists. You're even some newer, younger politicians that are coming in to really shake things up. You wonder why people that are observing them are so heavily resistant to their presence. Why people work so hard to get rid of them, because those people are destructive to the programming of the Matrix. And so, when that happens, the agents of the Matrix are activated, and it is their job to try to destroy them. But for the chosen ones, this has a different effect. You see, the effect for a chosen one is to awaken them. So even though the agents are trying to destroy, if you're chosen, it will wake you up. It will provoke you, and it will push you into a greater level of awareness, ascension, and understanding. So next time you are confronted with these really difficult personalities, give yourself the opportunity to take a step back and observe the situation as if you're watching two people play chess. Every time you come across a situation and you just feel like it is completely and utterly outrageous, take a step back and think of it as a chess game. Go, okay, there's a game playing out here. What am I missing? Because if you engage so quickly, what happens is that they've just sucked you back in to matrix level programming. And you don't want to be there. When you're in matrix level programming, you are existing at a lower frequency and it drains you. That's why when 5 o'clock hits, you're exhausted and you want to go to bed. You want to maintain your own frequency levels and not allow that kind of behavior or situation to affect how you choose to move through the world in this particular lifetime. So when someone's being outrageous or you're witnessing an outrageous situation, immediately go, this is a game of chess. Okay? I now have observed this is a game of chess, which just simply means that this is a product of the matrix, is simply a program. Let me observe the program. Let me take a step back. Let me remove my ego. Let me remove my feelings, right? Because just because somebody else is being outrageous, that doesn't mean that's anything to you personally. Yes, they may be projecting themselves onto you personally or trying to project their energy onto you personally, but it's not a reflection of who you are personally. So take a step back, picture it as a chess game, and then ask yourself, what moves are being made here? What is this particular party doing in the matrix in this particular program? You don't actually have to ask yourself why, because it doesn't matter. It's a simulation. It's a program, right? You don't have to ask yourself why they're doing what they're doing. I mean, if it brings you a certain level of joy, then, go forth and prosper. But you don't have to know why, because a lot of the times the why to something is simply the fact that it is. Why are they doing that? Because they are. That's the answer, right? So just observe the simple fact that it's being done. You don't need to allow yourself to commit to it any more than that. And then look at the other parties of the situation and observe what they're doing and honor the fact that it is simply being done. And when you can do that from a truly impartial perspective, you will start to realize that you will then have the ability to see next steps. You will be able to see, okay, this party is doing this. This party is doing this because of cause and effect, right? The next step in this sequence, because it is a program in the matrix, is this. And you will start to see that you will then have the ability to predict the next moves of somebody else or the next thing that they say. And then you'll start to notice that you have the ability to predict the program. Because one thing about just quantum level theory and physics is that successful mathematical patterns repeat themselves. There is no need for the universe to come up with another mathematical pattern when there's already one that exists and is successful. So when you allow yourself to observe the matrix, you'll notice that the same pattern repeats itself in all things. This includes patterns of behavior in all people, right? The cause will be one thing, and then the when it comes to the effect of that cause, you'll notice is that there's usually a finite amount of possibility there, right? Because successful mathematical equations repeat themselves. And when you get really good at observing situations and people, you will see that you then have the ability to predict far out in terms of next steps, what they're going to do and what they're going to say. And when you do that over and over again, you'll start to have the ability to reaffirm to yourself that what you are witnessing is simply a product of the programming of the matrix, right? And that those particular people are simply acting as agents of the matrix. Now, here's a thing that may blow some people's minds. At one point in time, we all would have been products of the matrix and agents of the matrix. Yes, there are some souls that incarnate and they already know who they are. They never go through a sleep period, right? There is no awakening for them. They come down here and they're like, well, this was fun. But the majority of us souls have an awakening period. That period of time before we woke up, we were agents of the matrix. We all can think back to a situation where we so arrogantly and ignorantly defended something that probably should not have been defended. And when we think about it, we will see and understand that the thing that we were defending was a program. It was a program in the matrix. It was simply a hologram. It was a simulation, and we defended it. We were agents of that particular program in that part of the matrix. We have all been there. And part of the awakening process is realizing that you are too, or you have been, a pawn in a really, really big game of chess. And that's why for some people, the awakening process can be so detrimental. It can be so upsetting. It can be so sad. It can be so emotional because you start to realize, in essence, that you feel like you've been played or maybe lied to because you went your whole life thinking things was one way. And most likely were probably in a position where you felt like you were going to defend it, right? Only to realize that that wasn't the case and that you've been played. You were just a piece on the board. So now that you have an awareness of the matrix and the fact that the board exists anyway, you now have a decision to make in terms of what to now do with the board. Because here's the thing. The matrix still exists. It will always exist. It's a program. But now that you have an awareness of the program, you now have the decision to choose how you want to participate. Are you still going to be on the chessboard? Or are you simply going to be someone that observes the chessboard and observes the game being played? I also want to let you know, Ascender, that it doesn't have to be one or the other. I am someone personally that at times I observe the game being played and I watch the game of chess. And at other times I go, no, I want to be on this board. But it's a conscious decision that's been made. Because I can see all the moves that are going to be played out, because I've been watching the program, and successful mathematical equations repeat themselves. So I know that if this move happens and this move happens, that the next set of moves will happen because they always happen. Because again, successful mathematical equations repeat themselves. And there's a situation that maybe I want to play in, right? Because the beauty about knowing that the matrix exists is that now you can play the game, right? Instead of being a part of the game, you can pick up the controller and you can play. And there may be a part of the simulation that I think may be fun to play, right? I may think, oh, I wonder how I can manifest this, or I wonder how I could contribute here or swing that over there. I want to see how I can influence the situation with my own energetic signature. And I may choose to jump on the board. And I also may choose what piece I want to be on the board. I may not always want to be the queen, right? It may not be fun for me to be the queen because I already saw it play out. Maybe I know in this particular program, on this particular game, that the queen gets captured. So maybe I don't want to be the queen at that particular time. Maybe it's not the funnest role. But because I have the ability to step out of the matrix and observe the board game, I can now step back into the board game whenever I want, and it makes it easier to influence the situations. It also makes it incredibly easy to start manifesting different things that you want because you know how to move the chess pieces, right? So when you're coming across people who just seem like they don't know what's going on, you're really dealing with someone that's on the chessboard and has no idea that they're being played, because that's the program. Somebody had to put the board there in the first place, right? Somebody had to start that first game. So you're witnessing people that don't even know they're being played. They're pawns. And they have no idea. And so don't get angry. Allow yourself to observe the situation. There is no need to spend your energy or to send your energy in that particular direction when that person doesn't know what's going on. And I feel like there's some of you saying, but the Mystic Rain, shouldn't we help them? Shouldn't we try to wake them up? And to that, what I have to say is, no, not necessarily. Not everybody wants to be awake in this lifetime. People choose. Souls choose before they incarnate what they want that lifetime to look like. They may have chosen to be the pawn specifically to help provoke others in their journey of awakening. That may be their role in this particular lifetime. Or maybe they simply wanted to be agents of the Matrix because maybe they thought it would be more fun. But this is what you're experiencing when you're out there. Have the ability to take a step back, to observe what's going on and know that it's not personal, it's not related to you. There's a larger thing at play here. There's a divine thing at play here, right? And there's always more to the story than what you can see. And so if you can allow yourself to go forward with that knowledge and that wisdom, then you'll have a much easier and a smoother time on your journey getting through, because it's not going to be so clouded with the pain or the frustration when you're dealing with other people. Simply remember that the people that you are coming across that's causing significant levels of discord for you or discomfort are agents of the Matrix. And that's okay, because that was the role that they chose to play. Now, if you want to jump back on that board and you can't stand them and you want to take that piece out of the game, now that's up to you. That's up to you. But just know that what you're dealing with is a pawn. You're not dealing with the queen on a chessboard. You're simply an agent.